The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
The Cryptid Files is a weekly discussion and debate covering all things cryptid. Mysterious and terrifying creatures are our passion. Join us each week as we bring you groundbreaking interviews and accounts, info from research in the field, as well as data and experiences of our own. From the widely known cryptids to the most strange and obscure, we want to believe. Do you?
You know, I cannot get my shit together tonight.
So,
dumbass me forgot to switch it from the paranormal stance to the Cryptid Files.
So we were like
we were
5
talking
minutes
to
over in outer space.
Yeah, somewhere.
Talking and just, doing our thing in not the right place. Anyway, here we are.
I'm John.
I'm Cindy.
We're at it again.
And we're your hosts for The Cryptid Files.
Yeah, The Cryptid Files.
Yeah, so we did a new show this week.
Yes.
And we did it at 7 here on Spreaker,
Mm-hmm.
Paranormal Buzz.
Mm-hmm.
And it was The Paranormal Stance.
Yep.
So that is our new show. It's bi-weekly. So you can join us again there at 7 Eastern,
Yep.
week after next.
That's it.
On Saturday.
Yep.
So right now we're switched over correctly.
Now we're
Hello,
correct.
Shane. We're here. We're back too.
At this time, we're on the right one.
We are. We
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. It was not an easy transition from one to the other, but we did it. So, I hope everybody did have a great week. I hope you guys are having a good weekend. We're enjoying the rainy fall weather.
Yep.
I'm loving it.
It's all right.
I love it. It's
I mean,
great.
I'm not complaining totally, so.
Oh, it's wonderful. And up in the mountains here, it's beautiful. Up in Appalachia. Appalachia. It's so pretty. It's just beautiful.
So what are we talking about
Well,
tonight,
we were
Gargoyles?
talking about, first of all, we want to tell you guys, Fran has come up with some awesome ideas for our cryptid that we are building. And we're going to debut it at the end of the month. So we want everybody to hit us up and to give us a detail that you want to include on our cryptid. It could be a physical attribute. It can be some sort of superpower or an origin, a backstory, whatever it is, small or big. Give it to us because we want to build a cryptid because we want to see if, like Slender Man or the Rake, that we can build a cryptid.
Why not? I mean,
for online.
These two individual cryptids that were fake,
Right,
went ballistic and it went everywhere.
Yeah, just like
So we're going to see if we can try to do the same thing.
Just like the newest fad, Siren Head.
Exactly.
It's gone big.
And Lighthead.
Yeah, and these are huge now. So we're going to see if we can build a cryptid that is just scary enough to make it become a legend on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is going to be a small cryptid, though.
Yeah,
it's going to be a mini
so
cryptid.
goddamn huge.
So we have to make him extra mean because he's a mini.
Yeah, he's got to have a set of cojones.
Yes,
right?
he does. I think it'll work too, Fran. We're excited about it. We hope that you guys had fun that joined us for our other show. And we're glad you're joining us here tonight. So we are going to talk about, and we were talking about how our cryptid has got to be better than the Hodag.
The Hodag, yep.
Yes,
it is a
Hodag,
thing.
yes. It is supposedly.
It's in Cheeseville.
It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that. Don't even look the Hodag up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you'd be
It's
disappointed.
silly. Yeah, you will. You will. And I really thought that tonight I was going to be on the fence, a little disappointed because John has suggested that we do gargoyles.
Well, that's because Dave Collins suggested
Yes.
it to me.
Well, and we're going to dedicate
And I
this
was
to...
like, another fake cryptid.
that's
what
what
the
I
hell?
thought too. We're going to dedicate it to Jim Sauer because he could never say it right. And he always said Gorgile.
Gorgile.
Yeah, but it's not. It's gargoyle. So
Fucking Jim.
yeah, right. Oh God, it was so funny. But so I started to look into this because I wasn't very versed in, gargoyles as a cryptid, and I was actually very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to John and let him read his little 411 on gargoyles.
So, for those that are new, this is kind of something we do every show. I kind of look into Wikipedia land and see what BS we can find on these things. And I'm not really finding any stats on this thing, but let's go down to the legend of the gargoyle. So, it's a French legend that sprang up around the same time as Saint Romanus, French for Roman. The former chancellor of, oh my God, this is in French, Vinigan, that word, and then that word,
Yes,
the
yes.
second.
The Merovingian, yes, that King
word.
Charles the Second. King Charles the Second.
Yeah, who was made Bishop of
Rowan,
relates how he delivered the country around Rowan from the monster called Gargoyle or Goji.
Yeah.
La Gargoyle is said to have the typical dragon with bat-like wings, a long neck, and the ability to breathe fire from its mouth. Ooh. Multiple versions of the story are given. Either that Saint Romanus subdued the creature with a crucifix, or he captured the creature with the help of only the volunteer. A condemned man. In each, the monster is led back to Rowan and burned, but its head and neck would not burn due to being tempered by its own fire breath. The head was then mounted on the wall of the newly built church to scare off evil spirits and used for protection. Go away, Ed. In commemoration of Saint Romain,
Mm-hmm.
the Archbishop of Rowan, were granted the right to set a prisoner free on the day that the reliquary of the saint was carried in process. So
interesting.
Yes.
That is interesting. Because, legend is legend. And
like everything else, it's freaking legend, man.
Yeah, I know, but so it would ward off evil spirits.
Mm-hmm. I'd be scared of it.
Because it was an evil spirit?
Would another Gorgile be afraid of another Gorgile?
I don't know. I mean, okay. So, the history is it's a cool story. It's interesting. But here's the thing. I started to look up encounters, sightings, etc. of gargoyles. And I was extremely shocked. Because we all know that it's a European thing, and even it carried over here, buildings, churches, whatever, perched on the corners of the church up at the top where the gargoyle's looking over it, and everybody says it's to ward off evil spirits and all. So the legend is that these things started off as evil spirits or evil somethings, right?
Yeah, right.
So the head would not burn because it was tempered.
From
And
the
that's
fire
also
that it used to
interesting.
breathe.
Okay, so...
But can flesh actually be tempered?
No. So it would have to be something altogether different.
It would probably have to be made of stone. Or
Well, it
metal.
would have to be. It would have to have tempered into metal or something.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't make sense. So, upon looking it up, I'm going to start with the one this one. Upon looking it up, I decided, okay, well, my first thought was going to be that there's no way that I'm going to find anything as far as sightings go of a freaking gargoyle.
But
I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Especially in the U.S. And that's what startled me, because I thought maybe, overseas, okay. But I started to look into this, and not only...
That's a good question.
That's a good question, Shane. I'm not sure. But what I did link it back to were also Mothman and the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, because then they have similar things that they did, correct?
Because of their physical attributes as well. Because
Look
gargoyles...
that up, Shane.
Gargoyles have the elongated noses, the wings. Some say that they have hoof-like appendages. But that very much explains the Jersey Devil. The Mothman is a bit different. But here are some... I want to read out some... or just go over some sightings. This one, I'm going to go... It was actually in 2017. And it was in Spain. One night in September, a man named Alex was awoken to what he said looked like a dog with wings. It happened in one morning in Santa Maria del Aguila. Yes, a Spanish town in the province Almerica. Heard a strange spine-tingling noise that resembled a shrieking woman outside of his open window. He looked out the window only to find a bizarre winged creature approaching from several feet away, perched on a building. His description was pretty detailed as well. The creature was large, with thick, short beak and stretched head. Its body was bulky and a pinkish color, and it didn't seem to have any front legs. The wings were its arms. They were curved with a span of around 2 to 3 meters. It had long, thin tail. Its movements were slow and heavy, like it was struggling to fly. It almost looked like a robot, he said. His encounter didn't last very long, and the gargoyle-like creature took off, flying into the night sky. So the interesting thing is the fact that this thing was perched. Again, perched. Now pay attention to some of these things, because when I read these accounts out, the reason I'm reading them out is because I want you to pay attention to the similarities in many of these accounts. The fact that he says it's bulky, a pinkish color, the span 2 to 3 meters, a lot of the attributes, and the fact that it was perched. It's really strange that in a lot of these accounts you're going to hear these beings, whatever they are perched upon something. Mm-hmm. And they take off. Usually they're there for a moment and then they're gone. 2011, a woman named Ashley submitted an encounter. She was walking down the street with her boyfriend at 3 a.m. and she witnessed what she described as a creature very similar to the appearance of the Jersey Devil. It was flying low to the ground, so much so she could hear its wings flapping. The creature was roughly 7.5 feet tall, with a torso similar to a man's with broad shoulders. When she saw it, she screamed. At that point, the creature disappeared beyond the wiring of the telephone pole, as if it had simply vanished into thin air. Not the fact that it flew underneath it, but the fact that the creature seemed to dematerialize into nothing. So that, I thought, was an extremely, come on. Where did it go? Where did it go?
Right. Just all of a sudden, poof, it was gone.
It was gone.
We went back to 1985.
1985.
Yeah.
I suppose it could have. So it's a time traveler.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, well.
Maybe a nose dock. I don't know.
Wait. So we have another report, and this one is out of Bluefield, West Virginia. Okay? It was a child that... and a few of these are children who see these things. It was an area, it's mostly quaint and rural farmland.
Right. It's funny that you said that, man. I just read that. Don't blink, or you're dead.
Wow.
Yeah, go ahead.
He had a very frightening experience when he was playing near a hedge that separated his house from the neighbors. He said he was sitting in the broad day sunlight, when all of a sudden there was rustling in the hedges, and out popped what he could only put into words as a gargoyle. It looked at him with its solid pointed black eyes. It had frog green skin. Its face looked like a frog, except it had teeth and ears that he'll never forget for the rest of his life. The ears flexed outward like two big green gloves on the side of its face, like the king that the gargoyles in statues has. The body was shaped like a bulldog, sort of, and it had webbed feet that turned inward. Once it saw him, it paused, opened its mouth wide, and hissed. He held it wide open as if to taste the air. The child was so scared that he was completely paralyzed. He cried for help, but nothing came out. And as if someone took the pause button off of him, he fled so fast to his house that he didn't remember even getting there. And it was in a panic. So what else would that be? And,
Good question.
for him to remember that much detail. But the fact that this thing hissed at him, which is interesting.
So I'm going to answer Shane's question.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, how similar are the gargoyles to weeping angels? Pretty similar. The only thing that's different is when looking at a weeping angel, it cannot move. That's it. That's the only difference. They are a monster.
Do they have the same physical?
No. They're human with wings. Basically looks like an angel from what I'm gathering. And it has the ability to send others back in time just by touching them.
Wow.
They're unable to move while being watched by any living creature, including their own kind.
We may have to do that as well.
And are turned into stone while an observer's eye is on them.
Wow. So would weeping angels be the good to the gargoyles not good?
No.
So you don't think that they're all
from
alter
what
egos?
From what I'm reading, this even goes back to Doctor Who.
Okay.
In Doctor Who, they were flesh-eating monsters.
Oh, that's not good.
But I wouldn't think that they're totally bad.
Mm-hmm.
But by reading this, it's probably they're known as assassins, the lonely assassin.
Okay.
And the hands over the face are a defense mechanism. Right? So they just stand there, but if you turn away or you blink, they're that quick.
Wow. That's creepy.
So, but I really, in one section they say they're evil, flesh-eating things, but that's for the Doctor Who, the TV show. But on this, I don't think so. Okay. Maybe mischievous, but I don't think they're evil.
Well, and two, it seems like that these gargoyle encounters, that what the people are seeing is they all have bat wings.
Yeah,
bat-type
these
wings.
have bird-like wings.
Yeah, and
so there is some difference, but
there's like some scaliness to this, or some rough skin, or
they're actually said to be the oldest species in the universe. Sorry, go ahead.
Wow. Okay, so here's a disturbance.
No, I'm sorry, that's Doctor Who. Never mind.
Okay, there's a witness here from California's Central Valley. And this was in a suburban area and in some orchards. Yeah. One evening around 10 p.m., he was riding his skateboard home when he heard what sounded like gusts of wind, again with us. Even through the night, even though the night was calm, he says of what happened next. I look up in the direction of the sound, and behind the slope of my neighbor's roof, I see two large wings flap and then begin to fold, as if the creature had just landed there. As the wings were folding, I guess they were about 5 feet in length, and I noticed the house light from behind the creature trickled through the wings. They were opaque and leathery, not feathered like a hawk's. It seemed to have heard me as I was passing, and it became still, wings folded, rising over its circular head. It had no horns or ears that I could see, or anything protruding from its head that I knew of. It looked just round. I couldn't see much more, as the light was behind the creature, so it was a black silhouette, but the leather on its wings was brown. I pulled out my phone and tried to use the flashlight setting to get a better view of it as I was passing, but the light didn't reach far enough, and the creature slowly started to descend behind the slope of the roof until I no longer saw it. I ran into my home and just laid in bed thinking about what the hell I had just seen. It was too big to be a bat. I've seen bats around here, and they're all small, and their head is shaped nothing like what I had seen. It couldn't have been a bird either, as I distinctly remember the wings being leathery with no feathers. So, again, it's perched.
Yeah, so I just want to correct myself. because that's me. The weeping angels aren't. They're not bad, but if provoked, they will attack.
That's scary.
So
I don't want a weeping angel to attack me.
It goes on to say they are the nicest psychopaths you could probably ever meet.
Oh, no, they're not. I'd have to disagree with that. So, yeah, there's another one, perching. These things perch. Which is
Kind of similar to what Mothman did.
Yeah, it's similar. It is similar to what Mothman does. It's very similar.
You know, if you ever thought about what if these, not saying they don't or they do, but what if they actually did exist? What would our lives be like?
Well, I mean, I've been really considering this all week.
You know, I mean,
if these things do exist, then
what would happen?
I think it already does.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, it just doesn't seem. It doesn't fit. You know what I mean? How some people say it logically, like when we did the Giant of Kandahar, it logically, the guy said it. Excuse me. It logically does not fit with Earth.
But here's the thing: with a lot of these cryptids, even with Dogman sightings and Bigfoot sightings, people say this when they see this does not fit. And it changes the way that they see everything. From that moment on, everything that they know about this world completely changes. So maybe it's the fact that we just can't comprehend something like that existing.
Right.
Would it change us individually?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Individually, yeah.
What would happen? What would, I mean, think about the churches, the governments, the country, the people themselves. What would actually happen?
I've thought about that too, especially
would it create mass
panic?
Yeah.
Well, with a Bigfoot, I think it would create a lot of things. Like a lot of things would, and I think that there are lots of people who know that these things, not just these, but these other things do exist. Whether it be, and to me, some sort of dimensional type thing. Even if it's not dimensional, there's a spiritual element to these things. Mm-hmm. And this even goes back to like Native American people, the indigenous people, and who are lived closer to the land, and they'll tell you about these things. But even with Bigfoot, I think things would change dramatically, and I think that's why there are higher ups who don't say anything, because they know that if it was public knowledge, that things would just go crazy. I mean, I could go on about what would change.
I think if there was any creature, Mothman, Gargoyle, Yeti, Thunderbird, whatever it was, if it was made public, that I don't think it wouldn't matter. Whatever it was, things would just go nuts.
I think so, and I think some people still wouldn't believe it.
I mean, I don't think they would go as nuts as you think, like BLM.
A lot of people don't want to know. A lot of people.
I think there would be a lot of people hunting them down.
Of course, that would happen in mass, which would be horrible. Like that would happen. People in droves would be doing that, and these things obviously are not just out there for the hunting. They're more intelligent than that. I mean, they could be much more intelligent than we are, as far as just ancient and know more than we do. I mean, look how far back these gargoyle type stories go. I mean, it's so old. It's such an old thing. And I mean, the fact that it's tied to modern civilization, it's strange and it's interesting. The similarities to all these accounts are what get me, because they're so. There was one account that I was looking at, and it was about a bunch of kids, just their college age kids, and they were going out to camp out in the desert. It was out in Arizona, which a lot of these take place not too far from Albuquerque. Believe it or not.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that now. I mean, the wall's up there, so.
And Tucson.
Wait, that's New Mexico. Never mind.
That is. No, I think they go through. Yeah. Anyway, so Tucson as well is an area where a lot of this happens. So these kids are going out to camp out, have a bonfire or campfire, drink, typical stuff. There were like 8 of them. And these 2 particular kids, they had set up, they had their fire going, had the alcohol flowing, the whole 9. These 2 guys had to, relieve themselves. So they go to the top of this hill. The one guy gets up there first before the other guy, and he's doing his business, and it's right at sunset. So the sun's starting to set. It's starting to get dark, and he sees a glow on the other side of the hill down toward the bottom of the hill. And he's like, what is that? And his friend comes up and joins him. They're talking about some girl, whatever. And he's like, no, stop. What's that down there? He said, oh, that's probably somebody else's campfire. It's an orange glow. And he's like, no, I don't think so. Like, there's nobody else out here. They're way out the end of everything. And so they start to look down. The sun's starting to set more. The more the sun sets, the brighter this glow gets. So they're looking down, and there are all these rocks, just stacked up, big rocks all along this area, and just natural formation. And they're looking down, and they're like, wait a minute, like, what is that? And this glow, now the sun is set, the glow gets brighter, and then all of a sudden they're looking, and they see what looks like 2 beach umbrellas poking up out of the hole. Out of the hole between 2 of these rocks where this glow is coming from, 2 beach umbrellas. And then when the beach umbrellas come up and start to look like they're unfolding, they see 2 horns come up. And then they watch as 2 arms kind of peel out of the hole. And this whole thing, this whole monster, comes out of this orange hole. And the wings open up. And it makes this sound, and they completely lose their minds. It takes off. It's perched up on these rocks, and it takes off into the air. They lose it. They go running back down. By now it's dark. They go running back down the hill, not even saying anything, just screaming at their friends, let's go, because they've still got a mile to go to get back to the cars. So they take off running, and then they're like, telling their friends to come with them. And their friends are kind of like, are you crazy? We're not going all the way back to the car. We just got here. So it's these bunch of girls and guys. And then all of a sudden they hear this flapping, which is another thing that you hear. A lot of these people hear this. And up on the ledge.
Yeah, Ghost Quest, what's up?
Hey, Ghost Quest. Up at the ledge that's directly above them, they see this shadow perch. And so at this point, they're completely freaking out. And they all take off running.
Yeah.
In this thing, they hear it swoop down. And at that point, things start to hit them. And they're freaking out. They can hear this thing. And they start to get hit by rocks and sticks and things. So they continue to run. And they have to go to get back to the car.
Right.
It's completely dark. They can't turn their phones on or anything. They just like, don't stop, don't stop. They keep running, and all of a sudden, they start getting hit hard, pelted.
With what?
They didn't know. So they're getting pelted and pelted and pelted, and they look down, and it's rattlesnakes.
Wait a minute. So these things like just keep a holster of rattlesnakes?
I don't know. I don't know. You
weird.
got me. So they're getting pelted with rattlesnakes all around them. So they've got to dodge these rattlesnakes and get back to the car. They're beat up. They're bruised from sticks and rocks hitting them. But they make it back to the cars, and they're gone. But, they swear that this thing that they saw was a gargoyle. And it was over 7 feet tall.
Wow.
12-foot wingspan.
Damn, that's a big-ass wingspan.
Huge. And this thing was dark. It was black.
Why is it always going to be black?
It's not. These things range from anywhere from pink and orange to brown and black and everything in between.
Yeah.
There was an account of a guy who went outside to smoke a cigarette, and this one was also in Arizona. There's also one in Massachusetts as well.
Yeah, well, it can stay there.
And people see these things perched on roofs.
And I think that gargoyle she's referring to is in Abington.
Yes.
Not too far from my own hometown.
No, and it was perched on a roof. A guy saw it across the street. There was a little girl who saw one perched in a tree.
Wow.
During the day. A lot of times these things are seen right at sunset. So, it's really strange.
I've always wanted to have an experience of something like that whether it be ghost or cryptid or something that you've never seen before. I always wanted to have that experience, but I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity, I guess.
Hang in there. We're getting there.
Oh, no, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No. I mean, from a distance. I mean, up close.
You can't say we're...
Nope.
You can't regulate.
Yes,
no,
I can.
You can't.
Yes, I'll talk to God.
You cannot
I
relegate.
will talk to God.
How
Him and I
you
will have
have-
a conversation, and I'll be fine.
You can't just say, oh, that's how I want to have it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it does in my world.
You got to be all in.
In my world, it works that way.
All in.
No.
So here's the weird thing, okay?
I'll just have an out-of-body experience when it happens.
You probably will. And that's probably exactly what will happen. So here's the thing. The odd thing to me with that is the fact that it came up out of the rocks where there was glow. To me, that's very fascinating.
So that would sound like some sort of maybe subterranean species or something like that.
Yeah. What do you think the glow was?
Lava. I mean, maybe the Earth's core.
I don't know. It's weird. Like, how often does that happen in the desert, right?
Yeah, right. It doesn't.
Another account in the desert, actually, in almost the same area, not a few years from that, there was a guy who was driving down the road, and he saw this thing flying middle of the day. And so he gets out of his car, and his dog takes off. And he has to go chase his dog. And this thing is flying. He sees it again. And it flies, and it goes into it literally flies down and goes into the sand. It just flies into the sand like it was water. Just boom, gone.
That's interesting.
It's very, see, the more that you look into this, the more interesting it becomes.
They either got to be like made of something that allows them to do that, or they just going to be able to manipulate things. That's just really weird. It just flies right into the sand,
yeah,
and that's the
it
end of it.
did.
Because I don't know anything that can just poof right into the sand.
That's so weird. The Native Americans out there in Arizona very much believe in these things. The ones who hold to their beliefs, and they believe these things are not a good omen. So the fact that these Native American people have these things in their history, and then you have people in Europe who, it goes back that far in history with them too. Mm-hmm. That's what I find that's interesting, is that you have these completely different cultures and completely different sides of the world, but yet they have seen the same thing and have seen it for many, many, many generations.
Right.
So this one is something that for them, they know that it walks between worlds.
So like a time traveling, no, not time traveling, interdimensional. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
And you can see it, but it's very terrifying to gaze upon these things, and people don't get good vibes from them. So, some people question whether or not it's something evil, like demonic,
right,
of some sort.
Right.
And like I said, people do want to group Mothmen, Jersey Devils, and these things together. It's these winged creatures that are humanoid. And the size differs. It varies. Some people say it's like a small human, a child size.
They're really small, some are really big.
But they all seem to be kind of, in that crouching, like the how gargoyles crouch on the side of buildings.
Right.
They all have that posture.
That's strange.
Even when they get up to fly, sometimes they're kind of crouched still. So.
All right. We're going to take a break. I'm going to get some coffee, and I got some music for you guys to listen to, so check it out, and we'll be right back.
I saw a picture of us in crop tops with bare stomachs. Late dazzling teens, liberated party queens, friends with vomit. But I don't wanna blame. All I want is change.
Welcome back, folks.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cryptid Files once again. So tonight we are speaking about
Gargoyles.
one of the lesser known cryptids, and yes, I would consider it a cryptid. Gargoyles. Those little
Or from Massachusetts, we'd say gargoyles.
gargoyles. They're those cute little monsters that people put on
Buckwoodies?
Well, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're little statues. And they're, what about ancient
That's a very
Egyptian
good question.
hieroglyphics? Isn't there something, wall etchings that...
Resemble gargoyle or something with
Wow.
wings that somewhat is close to a gargoyle. Maybe these are around that many years ago.
Okay, so Fran
All
brings
right,
up...
So now I got some legwork to do.
Yeah, Fran brings up a really, really good point. And what, like I was speaking before we went into the break, it seems like that across different cultures and, history, that these beings have been spoken about. So, all these legends kind of lead back to somewhere. If it weren't for the fact that all these modern sightings were occurring, then you'd be like, okay. But people are seeing this stuff, folks. Like, people are seeing it in droves. And not just 8, 9, 10, 20, 15 years ago, but like recently, people are seeing these things.
So at the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, Egypt, excuse me if I've pronounced it wrong, you can still see the lion-headed gargoyles that funneled and captured rain from the roofs. So this is just a real quick, I'm just kind of going through it real quick. So yeah, I mean, I would hieroglyphics, so I'm just kind of going through and reading real quick. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So let's look at it right here. That's what they're calling a gargoyle.
Okay.
And evidently there is some in the hieroglyphics here somewhere.
Wow.
I'm just looking.
So these things are
Go
literally
a long
ancient.
ways back.
I mean, wow. I found out so much about this week, and it's something I wish I had looked into a long time ago. Being an avid cryptid research person that I am, I'm really kind of taken aback that these things have been right under my nose, and I didn't know it because, wow. I mean,
wow.
See, we keep doing that with this.
Holy shit.
With this cryptid.
Shit. I mean,
Wow.
that temple goes back
yeah,
to...
you need to read that.
All right, so the main temple of Hathor was built by some dude. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the name. And
Yes.
nearly completed by Queen Cleopatra the 7th, around 54 to 20 BCE.
Wow.
So that's how far back. There is evidence of temples and other structures that date back all the way back to 2500 BCE. Hathor is the Egyptian sky goddess of sexual love, fertility, music, and dancing.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of... Yeah.
Goddess of birth and mother. Wow. So this... That's pretty cool. Fran, that's awesome. So they believe that this thing was not a bad thing.
Well, the Egyptians always took animals as a good thing.
That's true.
You know, cats, dogs, alligators.
So what is the motive of this thing?
Some people believe it protects. Some people believe it's evil. But the story I remember as a kid, my grandparent, when I used to go to Dorchester, and I think it was either my grandmother or my grandfather, I can't remember who told me, but they said it was a good thing. They would protect the buildings and keep away evil.
Yeah, and we did read that they keep away evil, but they were taken down as an evil entity.
Yeah.
And then hung up like, haha, you better stay away from here because if you don't, we'll get you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it varies. But, I mean, what are these modern day sightings about?
I don't know.
Like, it's very, I guess the same could be said for most any cryptid. Like, what is their motivation? I think that's what makes them so mysterious is the fact that we know so little, and it doesn't seem like it fits into our world. And I think that's the kind of the makeup of the cryptid. We don't know what their purpose is. We don't know what their agenda is, or we have no clue. We don't even know what their attributes are. We don't know how much in the physical they live, or we know so little. But it's interesting that this seems to be some sort of subterranean thing too, as well as other things like Bigfoot. Even Dogman is said to live in burrows in the ground, from what some people say, and hang out near odd places like graveyards. So it's funny that gargoyles kind of lend themselves to graveyards and are seen at graveyards as well.
Yeah, just like, some of the things that you put on headstones and stuff are supposed to protect or give you some sort of idea as to who or what was buried in there.
It's really fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm going to read a couple more. This was a man, again. He was outside, and he said he felt a sudden compulsion. And this was on a rural ranch in Nevada. He was out on the property one dark night with just his flashlight. He felt a sudden compulsion to turn his head to his front right. In the beam from the flashlight in front of his grandmother's chicken coop, about 15 feet from him, was an entity, about 7 feet tall. It had its back to me. It halfway turned and looked over its left shoulder at me. Turned enough that I could see it was definitely a male. He had a rather long, bulbous nose, large wings down to his mid-calves, skin and wings that looked leathery and was taupe or pinkish color. No hair that I could see. He also was very thin, almost skeletal in appearance, with some sort of bony protrusions extending from the shoulders. I'll never forget it. It scared the crap out of me. I didn't notice any dead animals in the area afterward, if there were any. So, again, with the pinkish color. Like, how this other pinkish thing was where? In Spain?
I believe so.
And now we have one, in Nevada. No way these people corroborated their stories,
Well, I mean, let's just think about this for a minute. Hummingbirds, how far do they travel?
They travel, far, right? They travel really far.
Monarch butterflies?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so I wouldn't think it would be impossible for something that big to travel that far.
It wouldn't.
Unless it just can't do it. And I mean, the wingspan would actually have to be really, really big, and it'd have to fly really, really high. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and if it is some sort of dimensional type thing, then why not?
Or if not dimensional, interdimensional.
Something.
Time travel, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. Like, portals? Who knows?
That's what I was trying to get at by saying interdimensional.
Yeah. I mean, it just gets more bizarre. Here's another one. A guy named Lon Strickler kind of got some of these together. This is on County Road and Black Road in West Joliet, Illinois. The witness says that he was in his home enjoying a TV show with the window open one evening when he heard a muffled sobbing of what he took to be perhaps a woman crying out in the darkness. He went out to investigate the sound, and that was when he saw a 4.5-foot dark-colored entity, again described as an entity, sitting atop his neighbor's roof, which was crouched and hunched over and distinctly reminded the witness of a gargoyle. The winged being stood and leaped from the roof, then dove toward the ground as it descended. The huge 10 to 12 foot wings unfurled as it swooped upwards and quickly ascended into the night sky. He never saw the wings flap as the being ascended. He did notice that it had pointed ears, but could not make out any further features on the face. The wings were attached from the shoulders to the legs and did not seem to have detached arms. Really crazy.
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy. I mean, what do you think when you see something like that?
Again, like we were talking about before, it's like I think your perception of everything has to change. Because nothing that you have been told your whole life is right.
So I'm trying to put myself in this guy's shoes. If I would have seen something 4 feet tall, with what was the wingspan?
10 to 12 feet.
Damn, 4 feet tall, 10 to 12 feet.
But again, you have to remember that it was crouched down. It's in that hunched position.
Okay.
So,
So this thing could have been 6 feet, 7 feet tall.
Right.
So we'll say about half. So could it even been 8 feet tall?
And the fact that it didn't flap its wings.
So I'm sitting here trying to put myself in this person's position. I can't honestly say I'd be like, oh my God, and run. I can't honestly say that. And I can't honestly say that I would stand there and look at it either. Because I really don't know exactly what I would do. But I'm pretty sure that I would look at it and study it for a moment.
Well, you'd have to, because I think
awe.
I think your brain is trying to make some sort of connection of familiarity at that point.
Yeah.
Where you're like, what am I looking at? Yeah. And here's another one. I know these are, and this one is the one in Abington, Massachusetts, actually. So, this person was having an evening cigarette when he heard again the swooshing sounds or whooshing sounds.
I wish I knew exactly where it was, but they don't give you any landmarks.
No, they don't. I wish they did. And they don't. It was just Abington. This was in 2018, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So I look up and see this winged creature land on my neighbor's roof and just sit there like a gargoyle would. And this is a completely different place, completely different person. I thought I was seeing shit or seeing something wrong, but then the creature jumped up and flew away and I could see the whole body. It was the size of a small human, but with massive, massive wings. It reminded me of a gargoyle. I couldn't see the creature's face because it was dark and it was on the roof facing away from me. It looked like black with a wingspan upon flight of 5 feet. The creature itself, while crouched on the roof, looked the size of a smaller human. I watched it and tried to figure out what I was looking at for maybe a minute. Then it jumped and flew off. Even when it flew away, it still looked on the shorter end. As it flew, its legs hung.
Yes, they are, Shane.
But still in an almost crouching position. It wasn't a massive creature, but was definitely humanoid in appearance. Because it was on a roof next door crouched, it's possible the thing could have been much bigger. I just wish I could have seen its face. So, there. I mean, these reports are in different places, and yet they're exactly the same. It's how do you make all this up? All this far away, all these people, if there's not something to it. I mean.
Well, Abington, Mass. Let me think for a second. Abington, Mass. Depending on where you are in Abington, it's mostly city-ish. It's not. There's a lot of hustle and bustle on the main routes, like 53.
Yeah, and Mass is a pretty populated state.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here trying to think. So if I was a gargoyle, I would probably be around the pond down there, and I can't think of the name of the pond. It's down near the, I think it's near the police station or the train station or something like that. But anyways, so I would think, what did she say? There has to be something to it. All these testimonies can't be wrong. Shane says bosses and grotesques are also very similar to gargoyles. Yes, I was reading that. I used to drain water from roofs of many ancient buildings. Yeah. So I don't even know what I would think if I ever saw one. I might look at it as it's flying over, going, "Whoa!"
You notice how these things are always, yeah, they're always flying off there. It's like they want you to see them, and then they want to fly away.
Well, it's like Bigfoot. Hey, how you doing? And then poof, he's gone. You know, hide and seek champion of the world. He can hide right in front of you. You'd never even know it.
Oh, it's so crazy. I think the most interesting to me report was one of a man in 1986 who worked for NASA.
Yeah, you were telling me about this one.
And he was an archivist for NASA, and he worked in Texas.
Was it Texas or was it Alabama?
No, this one was Texas.
Okay.
And so, you know, he's worked there for years. One night, he goes out, you know, leaves kind of late because he kind of works later than most everybody. So he's going out to his car.
Guy.
Yeah. And like any night, you know, going out to his car. And it's not like this guy is, you know, a Joe Schmo. He works for NASA.
Right.
So he goes and he hears the whooshing sound and looks up and sees this thing perch on
That's
the
what
roof.
I was trying to think about. Thank you.
It perches on the roof of the building. And it's massive. The thing has to be 8 feet tall. The wingspan, he doesn't even know. It had the bat-like wings, the elongated nose, beak almost, looked like almost beak-like. The horns, you know, the whole 9 yards. And it was like a brownish color. Mm. And it goes to swoop down, and when it takes off and goes down off the roof, he loses sight of it, but he can still hear it. He can hear the wings, and he didn't bother to look anymore. So he takes off to his car. He fumbles with the keys and finally gets the car open, gets in, gets it started. He can hear the wings again. So he takes off like a bat out of hell. He goes home, and when he gets home, he's so shaken up because of what he's seen. He doesn't even know how to relay the experience with his wife and his daughter. But, you know, him being the kind of guy he is, he's very level-headed, grounded guy, you know, he's not prone to flights of fancy. You know, people take him at his word. And he's so just distraught over what he saw. It doesn't make any sense to him. And he talks to them. It's not that they didn't believe him, because they do, because, you know, he's a sensible man. But they say, look, you obviously, whatever happened shook you up, but you cannot go to work and talk about this, because if you do, they're going to A, think you're crazy, or B, they're going to fire you for mental instability, or they're just going to think that, you know, you're a quack. So he decides not to tell anybody at work. And a few weeks go by, and this plagues him, and it keeps eating away at him and eating away at him. And finally, he's like, you know, he breaks, and he goes to his supervisor, and he said, oh, look, I've got something to tell you. And he said, please don't think that I'm crazy. I don't know what happened, but a few weeks ago, this is what happened to me. And he tells the whole thing to his supervisor, and he expects his supervisor to just, you know, rail him, to, you know, say you're crazy.
Drug test.
Yeah. But the supervisor says, it's funny you should say that, because you are not the first person that has seen this. Mm. You are not the first person who has come to me and talked about this. In fact, it has been such an issue that we actually had to make a report about a week before your experience on this thing outside. So he was not crazy.
Yeah.
And this is, like I said, again, it's someone who works at NASA. It's not, you know, so...
It's got to be some sort of portal or something that these things are coming through.
You know,
it has to be.
Do you think, because there, you know, there's a place in Alabama too, that a lot of gargoyles due to Gothic architecture.
Yeah, Shane says Pittsburgh has a lot of gargoyles. I almost said gorgiles. Due to a Gothic architecture revival that swept across America in the 1800s. I've seen them myself.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It makes me want to get some gargoyles now.
Gorgiles.
Gorgiles. So, you know, you bring up a valid point, because, again, there is in different places, it seems like certain things attract not just gargoyles, but other cryptids as well.
Yeah.
There is a place at NASA It's where they do research, like a lab, and NASA in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And in this particular lab, they were doing, and this was in the 80s actually, and they were doing testing on infrasound. And they were doing really in-depth testing for several years on infrasound and what the effects are on, different things and on people as well. And they got so good that they could actually use the infrasound and position it and bring it down to, such a pinpoint that they could affect one person.
Yep.
And they actually used to play jokes on one another because they knew that they could take like a noob.
Yeah.
And they could really focus on them and make them pee or poop themselves and get very sick.
Yep.
They found that they could actually kill, not that they did, but if they used too strong a frequency that they could kill people.
Yes.
So anyway, it just so happens that oddly enough, not very far from there were many cryptid experiences and sightings.
Think about it. If Dogman, and if anybody's going to hear it, it's going to be him.
Yeah. So Dogman. So are they creating portals in these places that we don't know about? Are they doing research and doing things like that? Is that why Area 51 is so crazy? Not because the aliens just know about it. Are they opening portals or doing things to attract these things that we don't know about?
I don't know.
Well, I know that's going conspiracy theory, but you really have to. When you start to look into all this stuff, you really have to consider all these things. In the way that these things seem to be attractive to Native American areas.
Yeah.
Dogman in particular, to native burial grounds, to
Bigfoot,
cursed
Dogman.
native land or sacred native land, even Bigfoot as well.
I think if you really want to go there, Dogman could be the curse.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hellhounds?
No, I don't think
know.
hellhounds. I mean, to me personally, I would think more Dogman before I would think hellhound.
Well, what I'm saying is, do you think the Dogman may be a hellhound?
Oh yeah,
because
all right.
come on,
So it could be.
They can
hellhounds.
they can walk bipedally, or they can run, and they can do it seamlessly. Well, not too seamlessly, but they can be on 4 legs or 2 legs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of popping and cracking that occurs in between the 4 and 2 legs.
Cool, though.
Oh man, can you imagine that? Can you imagine hearing that though? People have seen it and watched it and heard the popping when they go from all 4s to standing on.
It's like watching Underworld.
Oof.
How they transform.
Yeah, they say the noise is like big huge trees popping.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's, I can't, like, how do you, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Bigfoot looks more and more like welcoming, doesn't he?
Nope.
It does to me.
No.
You know how I feel about that.
Go ahead. Go
Anybody
marry
who
Bigfoot.
doesn't know me, you guys who have just joined us for the first time tonight, I'm dead set on finding a Bigfoot.
Ain't gonna happen.
I've been that way for a long time.
Ain't gonna happen.
Never say never.
I am saying never.
He always says
you'll
never.
You'll never see one.
He always says never.
I guarantee you.
I tend to disagree.
I'll put money on it.
We are in a hotbed, folks. I'll tell you that right now.
Hotbed my ass.
Oh, we are.
We ain't seen one. We've only heard.
Oh, actually, one of us has seen one.
Anyways.
One of us actually has seen one. I wish it were me, but it wasn't, unfortunately.
It was probably a bear.
That was not a bear.
It might have been
It was
a
not a
bear
bear.
with the cub standing on its head.
It was not a bear with a cup standing on its head. Oh,
She was
goodness
probably
gravy.
high on drugs when she saw it.
You know better than that.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet she was high when she saw it.
She did not. You know better. Oh, goodness. Okay, so, yeah. I really feel like there is something to this, and I think we need to dig deeper into this gargoyle issue. From what I know there was a report in Florida, but I haven't found one in Georgia as of yet.
I'm not surprised, and if you do, it's probably going to be down near Atlanta somewhere. I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah. I mean, because it's, I don't think that these things are, they discriminate as far as like the area and, what the landscape is or anything like that. It seems to me like they just are kind of doing their thing. So definitely something to consider, and it's definitely a cryptid that I'll be taking a closer look at and really trying to see what else I can dig up, because this is really interesting. Yeah, hellhounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you missed our show about Dogman, you should definitely check it out. We're going to do it again. You know what?
I don't want to know what she had to shave to make her look like Bigfoot.
Yeah, that was interesting. You know what? I think a lot of people have seen Bigfoot that way. Tell me this, though. Did she have any beef jerky in her cart?
And was her brother's name Daryl?
Maybe her name was
Or
Daryl.
Well, maybe, yeah.
So what do you guys, what is your take on this whole gargoyle thing? See, it's hard for me to say it now. I want to say gorgile.
I just saying it on purpose. Watermelons.
It's a good thing the show hasn't turned like it did last week.
I know.
We're doing good, folks.
Matt was my bitch, or I was Matt's
Yeah, if Matt
bitch.
was here, it'd be over. It would fall back into
I'm
debauchery.
surprised it didn't fall apart on the paranormal stance.
Well, I'm pleased. He held it together very well. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate
it. It was
that so
Matt's
much.
baby. That's what I said last week, and then it just fell apart right there. That
It
was
really
the end of
did.
it.
Fran had a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, Fran started it.
Yeah. Yes. See, Fran's keeping on topic. I like that.
Yeah. If the Egyptians
Awesome.
saw them,
See,
I
I would have to agree,
then I do
Fran.
believe.
There's something up with it. There's definitely something up with it.
So,
I mean,
let me make this argument.
uh-oh.
And me arguing
You
with
get
Fran.
it, Fran.
Me arguing with Fran is like me arguing with myself.
Why would you argue with Fran?
Well, just listen.
You're crazy.
Just listen.
Okay.
So, if the Egyptians saw them and they told you they saw them, you'd believe it. Is that what you're saying?
That's what she's saying.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's not just the Egyptians. It's the Native Americans. It's
Okay.
the Europeans.
All right. I'm fine, but well, just since she's okay. See, I understand. So what I was gonna get at is if the Egyptians saw the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, would you believe it?
We all know what you were going to get at.
No, I'm just saying you can't always believe what you see, hear, or
But
read.
what she's saying is it makes it more believable. The simple
all right,
fact
so
that,
I can understand that.
yes, it gives more credence to the idea that these things can be real, because historically they are found.
she believes that they have seen them is what
Yes.
she's saying. All
Yeah.
right, I get you. I
Yeah,
get you.
and I mean it goes across so many different cultures and so many
Right.
different histories and races. It's really strange.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to do like a continental search, country by country, to see if they have had any reports of these things.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't doubt that they have.
It's really cool. I mean, I'm excited. So, switching gears, because
Okay.
we have had our discussion about the wonderful Gorgile.
Gotcha.
We're probably going to head out to the Justin
Of course we are.
again tonight. Because why not, right?
Gotta keep an eye on old Uncle Ricky.
We do have to keep an eye on
Yeah.
Uncle Ricky. Got to make sure he's all right, and help him out with, all the people that come out there.
Yeah, no. When people come out there, he's gonna be like, "Oh, it's your call, sir. Sir, it's your call."
We are definitely VIPs.
Oh yeah. No, we can't go live. I've actually.
I wish we could.
2 reasons why there's no service out there whatsoever.
None.
Even if we had Verizon, it wouldn't help.
Nope.
You can come with us, and I've also cut our phone bill down to save some money, so we're limited on service.
Yeah. So
2 gigabytes, and we blow it in a day.
yeah, we do. Silly us. But I mean, we're gonna go and hang out. But we did find some interesting things out. Did we talk to them about some of the things we found out last week?
Shane, I'm going to say that gargoyles are not in completely in the paranormal field. My opinion is that they are really nothing more than cement statue made by people to control religious populations. in the Middle Ages and drain water. They do a good job of making buildings and cemeteries extra creepy, though.
Nice.
I would agree with that, but I would also probably say they probably are like, I might not be using the term right, but like a superstitious kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to put these here so it'll keep the evil
Right.
away. I mean, have they been seen? Who the hell knows?
Something.
We really, somebody's
is-
seen something.
Something has been seen.
You know what I mean? But as far as them actually being seen, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't either. We're gonna have to do a lot more digging.
Yeah.
I'm just the fact that, and you know me, if there's not much on it, I'm gonna like poo-poo it.
Yeah.
But the fact that we found so many reports and so many credible
Right.
reports of these supposed things,
Yeah.
it definitely warrants more looking into for
Yep.
sure. So we're definitely gonna do that. But yeah, we're gonna go and talk to our great friends, the Chastains and Little Miss Alice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to break out the parabolic and just sit the dish down and let it record and see what happens.
We did this last week. We did the Gansfield experiment, which if you don't know what that is, look it up.
We talked about it on the last show.
Yeah, we did. And we got some really interesting tidbits from it that led us into some more researching and finding out some really cool stuff.
But here's the problem with doing that, though. We already know way too much. And then doing that, could it just be our subjective mind
You could make that argument. You could
popping into our head?
The simple fact that that in doing that, that in the span of like a few hours, we learned complete.
Oh my God, it was
history.
ridiculous. The one thing it did do, though, when we both did it, it's piqued our interest, and I just had something in my head. I'm like, I gotta know if it was a battlefield hospital. I gotta know if it was an asylum. I gotta know if it was a children's home. I gotta know. It just kept bugging me, and then I started looking into it.
We did. Like,
And then, wouldn't you know, we went to the Chastain house. We talked to the descendants of the doctor that was there, and
it was crazy.
it was just ridiculous how everything all fell into place. And then we found out it was a child's home, but was never used like that. It was just crazy.
Yeah, that a church was going to make it into a boys'
never
girls'
did.
home. It never did.
Never
No
did.
children stepped on the
Ever.
property.
Ever.
We learned that Mrs. Chastain was given a slave from her father.
And it was her brother.
Yes, upon getting married, and it was her brother.
Yeah.
And that her brother came and was their slave, but they treated him well. He
Yeah, very
lived
well.
there and raised a family there.
And they were very nice people.
And they were the cousins of Alice. So Alice had her cousins there. And Mrs. Chastain had her brother there. And these little kids running around were cousins.
Yeah.
So it all, the real story was just crazy.
Yeah.
So we're finding out more. We're doing more research. It's really interesting.
And now when we go there, we have to tell the history.
We do have to tell the history.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy about it. And we will say hi to the people
Chastains
from
for
Fran,
you.
to the Chastains and to Little Miss Alice. So, you know, it was just great. It was a really great experience. And whether the Gansfield experiment worked or whether
Definitely
it didn't.
opened my mind, though, to look deeper into it.
It did. It was a very cool experience either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest it to everybody.
No, I don't even think I was ready for it.
No, I don't think I was either.
And I've been doing this a long time.
Like I'm not even excited to go and do it again.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
I'm good.
I don't want to do it again for a while.
I'm good.
So, well,
It's all right. We're about time to get out of here. And what else we got to say?
no, I think we're good. Just remember, guys, to keep giving us cryptid tidbits and ideas for our little cryptid that we're gonna break the internet with. Yes, we need that spot. That's about it.
Just remember.
Yes, remember.
Right?
Absence of proof is not proof of absence.
All right, guys.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night.